For many years, fans have speculated if the universes of Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Fantasy were connected in one way or another. From an initial glance, it certainly appears possible, as there are many links between the two that are inherent. For example, there is the fact that the beings known as the Old Ones, the Chaos Gods and their demons, and even the Eldar/Elven gods exist, and the majority have either appeared or at least been name-dropped within both universes. We know that the Old Ones themselves terraformed the Warhammer world, shifting the continents to appear superficially similar to that of Terra, which in turn also supports the possibility that the Old Ones also played some role in shaping the Earth and affecting the development of mankind in general several million years ago, after their supposed disappearance from the galaxy. Other worlds within the galaxy have been discovered by the Imperium that also have been terraformed into a shape reminiscent of Earth's distinctive continents. Within Warhammer Fantasy, the Old Ones were also responsible for creating the Slann, and were even implied to be the genetic ancestors of the Slann. The Slann have also appeared in multiple instances within Warhammer 40,000 as well, and were described as being remnants of a long-forgotten civilization, which also ties into this theory. In addition, during the Warhammer End Times, the temple cities of the Lizardmen, which the Slann rule over, are shown to have what is effectively spacecraft known as Exodus engines, which are said to be the last gifts of the Old Ones, presumably the original ships of the Old Ones before the species, or at least the colony that worked upon shaping the events of the Warhammer world, perished. Now there's also a distinct possibility that the humans of the Warhammer world are settlers who first arrived on the planet many millennia ago during the Dark Age of technology, and then reverted to a primitive state like many other human populations did across the galaxy during the Age of Strife, although not to the severity of the Feral worlds, turning the Warhammer world into what is known as a feudal world. The Elf and Dwarf populations could also be potentially explained as being shaped by the Old Ones from Eldar and Squat stock respectively, or the Elves even potentially being the descendants of some long-lost Eldar Exodite clans, and the Greenskins of the Warhammer world simply being strains of feral orcs, which do occur when spores of long-dead or long-since vanished orcs gestate and develop on primitive worlds with no access to advanced technology. The undead could also be explained as being animated due to the excessive amount of chaotic energy flowing from the broken warp gate within the Warhammer world's North Pole, as the undead do exist to a degree within Warhammer 40,000, with acts of necromancy being known to take place, although not to the same degree as within Warhammer Fantasy. There is also the hero of the Empire within Warhammer Fantasy, Sigmar Heldenhammer. Sigmar's birth was heralded by the arrival of a twin-tailed comet, and grew up to be an exceptionally large, strong, intelligent and charismatic hero who united all the warring tribes in the area into an empire, before disappearing without a trace. Sigmar's backstory is remarkably similar to that of the Primarchs, the genetically engineered sons of the Emperor of Mankind. Because of these similarities, many have speculated that Sigmar could be one of the lost Primarchs of either the 2nd or 11th legions of the Legio Astartes, with the twin-tailed comet signalling his arrival being his gestation capsule, and his disappearance simply being explained by Sigmar being reunited with the Emperor to take part in the Great Crusade. In the 6th edition of Warhammer Fantasy, during the Albion campaign, several magical items were introduced that were also pretty obvious examples of Warhammer 40,000 wargear, including the Gauntlet of Power, a Power Fist, the Divine Eye, an Auspex, the Claw of Devastation, a Lightning Claw, the Fusel of Conflagration, a Hand Flamer, and the Blade of Shining Death, a Power Sword. Wargear and equipment from Warhammer Fantasy was also present in older editions of Warhammer Fantasy. For example, Chaos Warriors were able to take bolt guns and plasma pistols, and Amazon Priestesses were able to take bolt pistols as part of their equipment. However, there are problems with the possibility of Warhammer Fantasy taking place within the Warhammer 40,000 universe. For example, Sigmar has been confirmed now to have been born to human parents, rather than being discovered, which pretty much destroys any possibility of him being a lost Primarch. There is also the problem in regards to the Orcs of Warhammer Fantasy being feral Orcs within Warhammer 40,000. Orcs in Warhammer 40,000 are a species who use a spore-based reproduction system, and such a system would cause them to pretty much overrun any other race on the world. Not only this, but in Warhammer Fantasy there have been cases of female Orcs, suggesting that the Orcs of Warhammer Fantasy reproduce sexually as opposed to Warhammer 40,000 Orcs' spore-based reproduction. There is also the problem with the Warhammer End Times. The End Times resulted in the Warhammer world being destroyed, and several new realms based upon the Winds of Magic being created as a result, which seems to fly against what has happened within Warhammer 40,000. However, even if Warhammer Fantasy did not take place within Warhammer 40,000, the two universes still share a connection, even if it was something more akin to being separate dimensions linked by the warp. During the End Times, there were notable examples of contact between the Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000 universes. These include an event within the End Times Thankwall book, where the Skaven recover an ancient device that was created by the Old Ones, similar to Skaven Farsqueakers, and through it they accidentally contact an elvish-sounding alien voice, which is strongly implied to be that of the Eldar. In addition, during the End Times Cain book, the Wood Elf Araloth travels into the Realm of Chaos to rescue Shalia from the mansion of Nurgle. During his travels, he encounters a being who is described as being a giant of a man whose armour gleams like silver and whose speech is strange. The knight also states that he had made something of a name for himself since his arrival in the Benighted Realm, and upon his charge into the hordes of Nurgle, he unleashed a storm of blue fire from his hands. This description seems to fit that of the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knight Space Marine chapter, Kaldor Drago, who is currently stranded within the warp, doomed to walk through the Realm of Chaos, which is currently spilling out into the material realm of the Warhammer Fantasy world. Now there is a possibility that this knight isn't Kaldor Drago, but instead a Stormcast Eternal of the Hallowed Knights chapter from Age of Sigmar, which was under development at the time. However, this will not explain as to how the Stormcast Eternal was able to conjure blue fire from his fingertips. In addition to these examples, there is also the character of Be'lakor, the first Demon Prince. Be'lakor is the only being to have once been immortal that exists within both Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000, and is speculated to be some kind of interdimensional traveller, as hypothesized in our video about Be'lakor's origins. Ultimately, while the Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000 universe may at one point have been planned to take place within the same universe, they currently do not. But they are, however, still connected to one another thanks to the churning and chaotic presence of the warp. Thanks for watching.